with another day separating the team from its return to the court against Phoenix. This pause in the schedule has created space for a broader conversation that keeps resurfacing among the fan base. The frustration is real, the impatience is understandable, and one topic continues to dominate the discussion: the future of the head coach. Many supporters look at the rotations, the late-game execution, and the overall flow of the offense and immediately place the responsibility on the bench. From that perspective, it feels logical. The coach designs the system, chooses the lineups, and sets the tone every single night. When the results fall short of expectations, the spotlight naturally shifts in that direction. What often gets overlooked, however, is the structure behind those decisions. The head coach is not operating in isolation. Roster construction is a collaborative process, and the final authority on personnel does not sit courtside during games. The coach can advocate for certain types of players, can push for specific skill sets, and can express preferences, but he is ultimately working with what the front office provides. That distinction matters because it reshapes the conversation from a simple blame game into a more realistic assessment of how this organization functions. Right now, there is no indication that the decision-makers above the coaching staff are interested in making a change. On the contrary, all signs point to stability and long-term commitment. That reality is uncomfortable for fans who are searching for a quick fix, but it is also important to acknowledge what stability has meant for this franchise in the past. The current coach has already demonstrated multiple times that he knows how to manage elite personalities, balance strong egos, and maximize the strengths of generational talent. Coaching a roster built around stars is a very specific skill, and not every capable basketball mind can do it successfully. History around the league is full of examples where a coaching change looked promising on paper and completely collapsed once real pressure arrived. When people suggest replacements in the middle of the season, the question that immediately follows is simple: who, realistically, steps in and elevates this group into a championship contender overnight? The answer is not comforting. There is no available coach sitting on the sidelines or waiting for a phone call who guarantees a smoother path or a higher ceiling right now. Some names bring experience, others bring intrigue, but none bring the proven chemistry that already exists between the coach and the core players. That connection matters more than ever when the margin for error is thin and expectations remain sky high. This team is still built around a nucleus that has won at the highest level. The relationships, trust, and shared language between the coach and his stars cannot be replicated quickly. That is why the organization continues to lean into continuity instead of chaos. The belief is that with the right complementary pieces, the system still works. The challenge is not tearing everything down, but refining what already exists so that it functions at a higher level against the evolving landscape of the league. Another idea that frequently appears in conversations is the call for a complete teardown. The argument usually follows the same pattern. This is not a championship roster. The window has closed, and the smartest move is to start over immediately. From an emotional standpoint, that argument makes sense after tough losses or inconsistent stretches. From an organizational standpoint, it does not align with how this ownership group operates. The philosophy has always leaned toward aggression rather than retreat. If there's a chance to compete, even a slim one, the instinct is to push forward instead of pulling the plug. We have seen this mindset before. When others expected a step back, the front office doubled down, searching for ways to extend the competitive timeline. That approach paid off more than once, and it continues to influence how decisions are made today. The belief internally is that this roster, when healthy and properly balanced, still has the ability to beat anyone on a given night. There have already been stretches that hint at that potential, especially after key roster adjustments in the past that spark momentum and confidence. Of course, belief alone does not win games. The modern league is changing, and the organization is clearly aware of that. Size, rebounding, and second-chance opportunities have become increasingly valuable, especially in playoff environments where possessions slow down and efficiency matters more than pace. The absence of a true interior presence has been impossible to ignore, and it consistently shows up in critical moments. Missed shots turn into fast breaks the other way, while opponents generate extra possessions that swing momentum. That is where the conversation naturally shifts from coaching to roster balance. You can design the cleanest offense in the world, but if the personnel cannot execute specific tasks, the system breaks down. Interior defense, physical screens, and offensive rebounding are not luxuries anymore. They're necessities. Addressing that weakness does not require dismantling the entire roster, but it does require a clear understanding of where the league is heading and how to adapt without sacrificing identity. The encouraging sign is that awareness seems to exist at the highest level of the organization. Leadership understands that the game is evolving and that adjustments are necessary to keep pace. Any changes that come will not be impulsive or reactionary. They will be calculated, measured, and aligned with a broader vision of competing now while still protecting the future. That balancing act is difficult, but it is one this franchise has navigated before. As the season continues to unfold, patience will be tested again and again. There will be nights that reinforce doubt and others that reignite optimism. The truth likely lives somewhere in between. This team is not flawless, but it is also not finished. The path forward is not about drastic moves or emotional decisions. It is about incremental improvements, smart roster tweaks, and trusting that experience still holds value in a league obsessed with the next new thing. One of the more telling moments in recent days did not come from the court, a practice session, or a post-game comment, but from a rare glimpse into how closely ownership is following the emotional temperature of the fan base. It is not common to see direct acknowledgement of frustration from the very top, and that alone says something about how seriously the concerns are being taken. There is an understanding that the burden placed on the star players night after night is unsustainable over the course of a full season, especially when the margin for error is so thin in the Western Conference. The biggest takeaway from that moment is not the specific wording, but the implication behind it. There is an awareness that style of play, roster construction, and league trends are all colliding at once. That combination creates complications that cannot be solved with a single move or a quick lineup tweak. It requires patience, flexibility, and a willingness to adjust without abandoning the foundation that has already delivered success. That mindset explains why dramatic changes are unlikely in the immediate future, even as subtle shifts continue behind the scenes. When the conversation turns to potential roster improvements, the focus naturally lands on the interior. Rebounding has become a swing factor in modern basketball, especially offensive rebounds that lead to second-chance points. Those extra possessions can erase cold shooting stretches and stabilize lineups that rely heavily on perimeter creation. Without a consistent presence in that area, the pressure on shooters and playmakers increases exponentially, leading to fatigue and predictability late in games. Adding size and physicality is not just about defense. It is about creating balance. A reliable center can anchor lineups, set firm screens, control the glass, and open up driving lanes for guards and wings. That kind of player changes the geometry of the floor without ever needing a play call for him. It is the type of impact that does not always show up in highlight reels, but becomes obvious when it is missing. At the same time, any adjustment must fit within the existing ecosystem. Chemistry matters, roles matter, and timing matters. Introducing new pieces only works if they complement the stars instead of complicating their responsibilities. That is why the organization continues to prioritize players who understand structure, accept defined roles, and elevate others through their presence. Experience in high-pressure environments carries weight, especially when the goal remains competing deep into the postseason. Another layer to this discussion is the second unit. Depth has been a strength and a weakness at different points, often depending on health and matchup. The ideal bench group does not simply survive minutes without the starters, but actively changes the rhythm of the game. That requires steady ball handling, decision-making, and the ability to punish defensive lapses. When the second unit struggles, the stars are forced to play heavier minutes, increasing wear over the long haul. Balancing those minutes becomes even more critical as the season progresses. Strategic rest within games, not just across the schedule, can preserve energy for when it matters most. That kind of management depends on trust in the bench and confidence that leads will not evaporate the moment rotations shift. Solving that issue is as much about roster composition as it is about execution and communication. Despite all the noise, the underlying direction remains clear. This organization is committed to seeing the current era through rather than abandoning it at the first sign of turbulence. There is a belief that clarity, even when it brings hard truths, is better than uncertainty. Knowing that the core and the coaching staff are aligned for the foreseeable future allows everyone to focus on improvement instead of speculation. The future, of course, will eventually arrive, and when it does, it will come with significant flexibility and opportunity. Cap space, young talent, and draft assets will shape the next chapter when the time is right. That transition, however, will be intentional rather than forced. It will be built on lessons learned, not reactions driven by short-term disappointment. For now, the focus stays on maximizing what is already here. That means refining rotations, adjusting schemes to better match personnel, and making targeted moves that address specific weaknesses. Progress may not always be linear, but it rarely is in a league defined by constant adaptation. What matters most is staying competitive, staying connected, and staying ready to capitalize when momentum shifts. As the next stretch of games approaches, every performance will feed the ongoing evaluation process. Wins will reinforce belief, losses will sharpen focus, and each decision will carry weight. This is the reality of competing at the highest level, where expectations never fade and patience is constantly challenged. The season is far from decided, and the story continues to evolve with every possession. Looking ahead, the key for this team will be balance. The stars must continue to shoulder responsibility, but the supporting cast needs to step up in ways that relieve pressure and create spacing on both ends of the floor. Every possession becomes a chess match, where the alignment of talent, timing, and strategy determine success. The margin for error is slim, and the ability to capitalize on small advantages can be the difference between a playoff berth and a deep run in the postseason. Incremental improvements in execution, decision-making, and defensive discipline will compound over time, giving the team a better chance to reach its ultimate goal. Another factor that cannot be overlooked is the evolution of the league itself. Opponents are faster, more versatile, and increasingly adept at exploiting mismatches. Adjustments must happen in real time, and the ability to read situations on the fly is essential. That is where experienced leadership, both on the court and from the sidelines, proves invaluable. A well-managed team can absorb mistakes, shift momentum, and adapt its approach without losing confidence. This capacity to respond under pressure has historically separated contenders from pretenders, and it is exactly what the organization is banking on as it navigates the current season. Finally, the intangible elements will play a decisive role. Team culture, accountability, and mental resilience are as important as any statistical metric. The current core has developed habits and relationships that cannot be replicated overnight, and maintaining that cohesion through adversity is critical. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. In a move that has already sent shockwaves through the basketball world, sources close to the NBA are hinting that the Golden State Warriors may have just pulled off the most audacious coup in recent memory. Whispers from within league circles suggest that LeBron James, the perennial superstar whose name alone can shift the balance of power in any franchise, could be on the verge of joining the Warriors roster. While nothing has been officially confirmed, insiders are describing the discussions as intense and serious, fueling speculation that the Warriors are positioning themselves to redefine the NBA landscape once again. For months, the Warriors have been quietly plotting behind the scenes, navigating salary caps, trade considerations, and free agency intricacies with the precision of a team determined to reclaim supremacy. LeBron, a player who has spent decades carving out his legacy as one of the greatest of all time, represents not only an extraordinary athletic addition, but also an unprecedented marketing and cultural boost for the franchise. Industry insiders suggest that if the deal comes to fruition, it would mark one of the most significant player movements in the league's history. A combination of star power, championship pedigree, and tactical genius that could alter the very notion of team dynamics in the modern NBA. Analysts are already speculating about the on-court implications. A backcourt that blends Stephen Curry's sharpshooting with LeBron's versatility could create defensive nightmares for opponents, while also opening up opportunities for younger Warriors talent to flourish in complementary roles. Off the court, the ripple effects would be just as significant, likely igniting merchandise sales, global media attention, and renewed debates about dynasties and player legacies. Some critics question whether such a partnership would mesh seamlessly, citing potential clashes in playing style and leadership dynamics. But others argue that the competitive instincts of both LeBron and Golden State's core make them uniquely equipped to handle such challenges. While official confirmation remains elusive, the mere suggestion of LeBron potentially joining Golden State has sent social media into a frenzy, with fans, pundits, and former players weighing in on what could arguably be the most electrifying rumor of the season. If true, this would be more than just a signing. It would be a seismic shift in the NBA, a move that could redefine rivalries, rewrite record books, and set the stage for a chapter in basketball history that fans will talk about for decades. The league is watching, the rumor mill is spinning, and for Golden State, the stakes have never been higher. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.